Ronaldinho was undoubtedly one of the most gifted footballers to ever exist, but in this video I want to focus on some of the things that may have prevented him from getting to an even higher level and maintaining it for even longer. That's coming up next. When I'm busy doing totally legitimate things, I rely on OneFootball to give me all the news stories, fixtures, results, and more from the world of football. Download it for free today. Hey guys, if you haven't been here before, my name is Dave and this is Simply Soccer, where we release soccer tip, technique, and training videos just like this one every single week. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you don't miss any of the content that we release. Now I want to preface this video by saying that I know Ronaldinho was one of the best players of all time. He was one of the most gifted players. He always played with a smile on his face and that was awesome. However, there were some things he did do that most likely prevented him from prolonging his career at the top of the game. Many of us know that he had that period when he was at Barcelona where he was just untouchable, but it only lasted for a couple of years. So I'm going to be going over the things to avoid in this video that's just going to give you more of a chance of becoming a pro yourself, or at least getting to a higher level. I also want to mention that this has happened to plenty of other players. If you remember who Adriano was, another really talented Brazilian who at one point in time was seen as an incredible player, one of the best, Alexander Pato, and there's many other examples that we can throw in there that actually both of them also did a lot of what we're going to be going over in this video. I mean, just imagine all of those players with the discipline of someone like Ronaldo or Messi and what would have happened with their careers. So number one is lack of discipline. And if you're a professional footballer, you need some sort of discipline to ever get to that level, but you can lose that discipline. And it looks like in Ronaldinho's case, that may have been what happened. And if you look throughout his career, you know, he's not really the guy who wanted to put in the extra training. Sometimes he wouldn't even put in the standard training. And there was even a famous quote by Carlo Ancelotti towards the end that Ronaldinho's talent is undoubtable, but his body keeps breaking down because he doesn't put in the work to maintain it. Now, if you want to give yourself the best chance of becoming a pro or playing in college or playing at a higher level than you're at right now, then you need to be disciplined. You know, you want to give yourself every opportunity to improve and to get to a better level. And to do that, you need a high level of self-discipline. The second habit that ended up hurting Ronaldinho having a longer career at the top, and one you want to be avoiding, is partying. Now, there's nothing wrong if you want to do that, doing it every now and then, but when it gets in the way of your training, when it gets in the way of what you want to make a profession at some point in your life, then it's a problem. And Ronaldinho was known for being a huge partier, you know, even having parties where they would go all night long. That's not good for your body. That's not good for your team if they're relying on you. It's not a habit you really want to get into. Now, if you ever play in the college game, you're going to have a mix of players who are going to want to party and not really take the training as seriously as some others. And you will see firsthand what happens to the players that end up partying more and the players that do not, and what, you know, happens to each one. But if you want to get to a higher level, there's going to be the temptation to go to parties. There's going to be the temptation to drink. There's going to be the temptation to do a lot of what's considered unhealthy things and aren't going to really help your career. And again, you need to have the discipline to not go in that direction, to put aside that instant gratification and those kind of things in order to help propel your career in the right direction. And Ronaldinho, again, was a famous partier. Same with Adriano. There's even a story of actually Ronaldinho and Adriano after the 2006 World Cup going back to Ronaldinho's place immediately and having an all-night party into the next morning. So that's something you want to be avoiding if you want to really get to that next level. Third habit you want to avoid is the habit of not being willing to push yourself. Now, there is going to be a point in your life, in everyone's life, where you're going to have an opportunity either to push yourself or to not. And some people decide not to and don't reap the benefits of what that hard work that comes from pushing yourself. Others choose to do it. You look at some of the players from today, like Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi again. These guys go from challenge to challenge to challenge to challenge. They continually push each other, push themselves to become better and better players. And Ronaldinho demonstrated many times over over that he wasn't willing to do this. You know, there was a famous quote after the 2006 World Cup where someone said that Pele, after he was injured in the 1966 World Cup, worked really, really hard for 4 years to get to the point where he could dominate the 1970 World Cup, which he inevitably did, helping Brazil to the title. After the 2006 World Cup disappointment for Brazil, where they were one of the favorites to go on to win it, Ronaldinho did not do this. In fact, his career started to deteriorate in that time span. So are you willing to push? Are you willing to go that extra mile, to put in the work in the background that's needed to show up on the field? And this is something, again, Ronaldinho did not do throughout his career. Again, had an amazing career, but could have taken it even further had he done this. The fourth habit you really want to avoid is not getting along with your coaches. Now, it's hard to imagine that because in the modern era, in today's game, it seems so many players and coaches fall out of favor with each other. There's so much ego going around, but a general rule is you want to try and get along with your coaches. You want to listen to the advice that they give you and try and grow your game. Early in his career at PSG, Ronaldinho had a famous fallout with his coach there because his coach didn't enjoy the nightlife that Ronaldinho had, because he'd show up late to practices, he'd come back from Brazil on vacation late to training camp, things of that nature, and that's understandable for the coach to be disappointed and not happy when a player is late to practice and isn't coming to the training camp on time and taking longer vacations. And that's a big macro scale kind of example of that, but on a micro scale too, I've seen so many players who don't respect their coaches. I see so many players who don't listen to the advice given by their coaches. Now, not every coach is amazing, sure, but if you're on a good team, you're in college, you're at a little bit of a higher level, usually the coach is gonna know what he's talking about, and you're gonna want to get on with this guy. You're gonna want to pick his brain. You're gonna wanna learn from him as much as possible. But if you just kind of walk in there and say, you know, I'm better than this, I don't need this, I don't need to show up to training, all this kind of stuff. Sure, there might be 1 in a million who's a Ronaldinho who can go on and be successful anyway, but most likely that's not the case. So you don't want to be having these unnecessary confrontations with your coach. Listen to them, respect them. You know, again, don't blindly follow anything anywhere, never blindly follow anything, but you know, showing up late for practice, you know, doing all that stuff isn't going to help you. And this last habit really speaks for a lot of what we've already gone over, but it's inconsistency. Now, we all know that Ronaldinho had 2 or 3 years at Barcelona where he was just undoubtedly one of the best ever. But due to inconsistent habits, due to inconsistency in maintaining the lifestyle he needed to maintain to stay at the top, it was only 2 to 3 years. You know, again, I said it throughout this video, imagine a Ronaldinho, but with the discipline of Cristiano Ronaldo or of Lionel Messi. I mean, he could have gone on for a decade being one of the best ever. Like, he might have honestly been in an argument for the best ever if he had been more consistent in his career. But the inconsistency with his training, the inconsistency with looking after his body, again, Carlo Ancelotti saying that Ronaldinho's talent is undoubtable, but he doesn't take care of himself, his fitness has always been questionable. You know, that comes down to lack of discipline. That comes down to inconsistent training, you know? So this is something you don't want to fall into. If you're being inconsistent with your training, if you're inconsistent with maintaining the lifestyle you need to maintain to continually grow as a player, to get to that next level, whatever that is for you, you're not going to get there. You need to maintain consistency. You need to have the good habits and consistently be acting upon those good habits while avoiding habits like this that are only going to be pitfalls for you. Ultimately, guys, consistency is going to take you really, really far if you actually maintain it and you optimize it and you keep challenging and pushing yourself. And again, if you want to continually improve, see how far you can take your game, that's something you absolutely must have. All right, guys, I want to emphasize once again that Ronaldinho was one of the best players ever, that he was an incredibly magical player. And this is not me coming at him. You know, he's a more incredible player, more than I'll ever be. But again, you can see the habits that prevented him from having more of a career at the top. And I honestly believe if he had the discipline of a Ronaldo or a Messi, he would have gone down as arguably the best player of all time, let alone of his generation. So these are just some things that you definitely want to avoid if you want to get to that pro level, get to the collegiate level, or just get to a higher level, whatever that is for you. All right, guys, question of the day is, which one of these habits do you need to take a look at and work on? Let me know in the comments below. You can be open about it, and I'll come down there and help some of you out if you leave a comment. Thanks guys so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna leave some of the other videos from this series in the comments and the description down below. I will have 2 videos on screen as well to help you improve, stand out on the pitch, all that fun stuff. Thanks once again, and I'll see you in the next one.